Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, welcome wherever you are. You're joining me here today in North Yorkshire, and we are in the fabulous, wonderful Hawes in Wensdale. And we're starting our tour today outside the Stonehouse Hotel. I was in here earlier. Fabulous welcome, fabulous hospitality, wonderful place to stay. Yeah, me North Americans staying here, coming and using it as their base on kind of walking holidays. Michael from Madison has been to Clapham, so kind of knows the area. So it's a proper muddy boots kind of place, where you can kick off, roaring fires, absolutely perfect. What's fascinating about this, I think will be interesting to a number of you, is that this was built as a private house for a chap called Hugh Arden Crallan. It's like a very much an arts and crafts sort of style. He died in 1929. And the architect, thank you, Diane, the architect he chose was a chap called Percy Richard Morley, Horder. So the house was built in 1909. Now, Mr. Crallan, the owner, was a very keen cricketer, and he set up Hawes Cricket Club, which we're going to pass on our way down into the village. And he employed as his gardener here at the house a chap called Percy Jeeves, who was a famous fast bowler. But he was also the inspiration for the character Jeeves in the P.G. Wodehouse novels. So if any of you are fans, I know very popular in North America, this garden here and the grounds of this wonderful hotel were all designed by the original Jeeves. Isn't that wonderful? And there is a tame pheasant that lives in these grounds, who I met earlier. I'm just hoping we might just get a chance to have a look at. But isn't that magnificent? So if you're looking for somewhere to stay on your next trip over here to the UK, you want to do some walking in the Yorkshire Dales, I can heartily recommend you come here to the Stonehouse Hotel here, just on the edge of Hawes. Doesn't look like Mr. Jeeves, the peasant, is going to show his face. Hi, Robin. Brooklyn's joined us. So let's set off down towards the village. And I'm just going to welcome everybody who has kind of joined in the last few minutes. We're just on the edge of the village of Hawes. We're going to walk down. And this is the second of what is a sort of two-part odyssey I decided to do for my 2-year Hager anniversary. And so yesterday we were up on the top, looking down over the Vale of York and Mowbray, up at Sutton Bank, looking at Iron Age Hillfort. And today we're in the Yorkshire Dales. A beautiful market town. So here is the Stonehouse Hotel. Patrick Centers, good lad. He knows what he's beat with his rotting house. So you can see here, this really is a very spectacular setting indeed. And I thought rather than just go for a walk around Hawes, which is lovely, that's where we're going to end up, I thought we'd gone like a mini walking holiday. What I wanted to do was to give you a sense of what it is like to come here on a walking holiday. So we're going to take a walk down. We're probably about maybe best part of a mile into the village. I'll tell you a bit about the kind of landscape and everything around us, but I just thought it'd be a nice kind of way of sort of thinking about it, as you might say. Isn't it perfect? So, this is the famous Yorkshire Dales. We're in Wensdale. It's famous, of course, what's it famous for, Wensdale? Somebody shout it out. You all know. Cheese, of course it's cheese. It's cheese. And they can only make Wensdale cheese here now. It's got sort of protected kind of say, thank you for my anniversary, best wishes. That's kind of very, very kind. Excellent cheese. Of course it is. Of course it is. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. We're going to have a walk past the creamery. Hopefully we will still have enough light by the time we get down there. But as we kind of walk down, the other thing that, of course, that characterises the Yorkshire Dales is, well, it's dry stone walls, isn't it? Everywhere we go, we see the kind of characteristics, the most distinctive features. And they're kind of some of the oldest man-made kind of landscape features. Hello, Mark. Good you join us. We're just walking down now towards Hawes. And it's believed there's over about 5,000 miles, or about 8,000 kilometres of dry stone walls in Yorkshire Dales. Now, not all of them. Hey, Mick's with us. So Mick probably knows where we are. We're just at the top end. We just left the Stonehouse Hotel, Mick. So we're walking down now towards the village of Hawes. We follow the River Ure down into the village. Good to see you. So we've got about 5,000 miles of dry stone walls in the Yorkshire Dales. Not all of them are in fantastic condition, but most of them are pretty well maintained. You see the odd one kind of fall over. And a kind of question people often sort of pose, obviously, is Why are they there? Why is there so many? Yeah, absolutely. You were very much in James Herriot country around here. I mean, he was basically on Thirsk, which is probably an hour's drive. But in terms of the landscapes and sort of farms that he worked with, then absolutely this is the sort of landscape that he's talking about. So the sort of very first dry stone walls were created obviously centuries ago when the early farmers were just clearing the land for cultivation. And so partly it's about kind of staking a claim, but also, of course, it's about keeping animals enclosed. So it's like a two sort of dual purpose, as you might say. And some walls are quite thin. This bit, by the way, there's traffic, so I'm just sort of keeping us on this side, so I'm sort of facing oncoming traffic just to be kind of safe. But isn't it magnificent? Some of the walls are really thick, but I think that's really just in areas where there's naturally large deposits of stone. So they've just kind of used what's kind of lying around, whereas others are thinner. And where you see the long, broad base, I'm going to try and spot one for us on the way in. See the speed of that, so we very much need to be aware of the kind of traffic around, which is why I'm just being careful and cautious of doing this before we sort of get into the village. Is that the broader the base, it tends to be the older walls. We do live, we have wonderful countryside. Mark used to come up here often, so he knows Mark from the northwest. So we can just see the River Ure starting to appear in it. So the walls, as I say, it's about ownership. Thank you, Janice. It's about kind of marking out you're taking your claim, but also, of course, about livestock, keeping them in. Well, Joanne, for a country road, if there's no speed limit, then I guess it's 60 miles an hour. I can't see anything else telling us here, so I'm guessing it's 60 miles an hour. So some of the walls, believe it or not, date back to the 13th century. It's quite remarkable how old some of these are. It's believed they were first put in to deter wolves. So this was a time when wolves were still, kind of all over the place in Europe. But a lot of the walls around here were built about 200 years ago, and they were built by French. I don't know if Alex is on, by French prisoners of war, and they'd been taken during the Napoleonic Wars. They were brought over and they were put to work. Does it look all the moss and kind of lichen on it? It's so clear. Let me just give you now a sort of view as we come into the village. Not unlike those found in New England. Okay, Michael, thank you for that sort of comparator. It's always nice to find comparators. So we can just see here we are 3/4 of a mile to on the way into the village. So we've got Askrigg behind us, the falls nearby, Aysgarth. So we're in kind of Wensleydale. It is a town. It is a town. It's the size of a village, most of the places, but yes, absolutely, it's a market town. It got its charter in the back end of the 17th century. Yep, absolutely. So we've got a whole bunch of things. Obviously some medieval walls, a lot of kind of Napoleonic. But what is kind of really cool about it is just the construction, isn't it? Insofar as a dry stone wall is a wall that has been built without recourse to mortar. I know the scenery is fantastic. Hello, Melena. I think you'll like it here today, out in the Yorkshire Dales. If anybody, as I say, has watched any TV shows or Creatures Great and Small, anything on Heartbeat, a bit more of the moors, but this is the stuff, right? Hi. So yes, so these dry stone walls, and they pride themselves. The wallers who are incredibly highly skilled. And of course, as time's gone on, these skills have kind of got rarer and harder. So, it's now kind of a very well paid job in some areas, the ability to be able to do this. And it's said that the wallers only touch a piece of stone once. Thank you, Leslie. They're meant to be able to look at the size, if you like, of the hole that they're trying to build, and pick it up once and judge precisely. Diane, it's weight and kind of gravity, the kind of the weight sort of holds them all together, and the fact that they are so expertly put in. And you'll see, if you kind of come over here, you'll see you get a certain sort of flat strata, the slated element there that kind of runs across. Robbie does City Girl. Well, it's actually become on holiday, Robin. I mean, get away from the city. So you'll see that there's different kind of shapes, but aren't they wonderful? So yeah, of course, need upkeep, but that's very much something that is kind of done. Consider barbed wire on top of the left. Well, just again for sheep. If you're looking over here, obviously we've got kind of sheep in these fields. Looks like they've all gone in. When I walked up here about an hour ago, there was lots of sheep around. There's fewer now, so perhaps it's some over here. Look, We will talk about some sheep in a moment, but aren't they? Isn't this a wonderful spot? I'm really glad that we kind of started out here because I just really wanted to give you a sense of, as I say, most people that come here, they'll come on walking holidays. So I thought there was no point just starting in this village and just showing you that, because it's not really what people are after. They are just trying to, kind of, they come here because they want to be outdoors. They want to kind of be at one with this scenery. And the beautiful thing is, you set out, with your backpack on, with your boots on, with your sandwiches, and there is water. Yes, the River Ur that is kind of following us kind of around. We're going to see it a lot on this tour. Is you're just kind of outdoors all day, but everywhere you look is just beautiful. Insofar as, it's such a stimulating environment. Bromley absolutely is a skilled trade. That is absolutely how you can describe it. Just have a look at the sheep in the field over here. So there we are. It's tea time for the sheep. Like that, any of these traditional craft, absolutely, you're 100% right. So, what a place. If you're going to be a sheep, I think you definitely want to be a sheep in the Yorkshire Dales and Wensleydale, of all the places you could be. Some very nice places very near here. No, there's not really wide enough to kind of split the road, Cindy, for being honest. The road is kind of pretty narrow here, so by the time you split it, it'd be wide enough for a bicycle either side. So basically, it gets slightly wider here, you can see, as we're kind of working our way down towards the river and the village. So yes, the dry stone walling is very much kind of traditional sort of Dales craft. They're all across northern England, in the Lake District as well, but we particularly associate them with the Yorkshire Dales. And they give us a dreamy sense of direction insofar as that it draws the eyes. It sort of makes sense of the scenery. If that kind of makes sense, insofar as that, you can sort of see where you're going. That makes sense. It's a sort of slightly abstract way of thinking about it, but they sort of draw the eye. And come on, we don't want to be thinking about the American prison system when we're looking somewhere as beautiful as the North Yorkshire Dales. It's all about freedom. Let's think about freedom and liberty and outdoors rather than folk being locked up. And of course, another part of the enclosures, actually in the 18th and 19th centuries, which was very much when sort of common people were driven off common pasture land, and it was kind of taken away. So our universal accesses to pasture land was kind of taken away. Love to be a sheep there at tea time. So again, I just love the colour contrast of the green moss and the grey stone. It just works to me sort of beautifully. So we're coming up to a Packhorse Bridge in a moment. I know that many of you on my Facebook group drool every time I post pictures of Packhorse Bridges. So you're going to see one in the flesh. We're going to walk across it in a few minutes. Pennine Way, Barbara, we're very near to it. In fact, a section of this tour we're going to walk on. So I'll just give you a kind of section here. You're just about to see the church there, right in the middle. You see, a little spire. We're heading towards. The Pennine Way just on the other side of the church, just there. So again, I'm just going to keep tucked in because there's a minibus sort of coming our way. So we'll just hold over here for a second and just pan the landscape. Very much like Ireland KCM, very much like, particularly Western Ireland. Similar sorts of weather patterns as well. It is. Well, they do a lot of filming in this parts of the world. I mean, they often sort of create TV shows, don't they, so they can use sort of settings like this. But it's bucolic, pastoral. It is absolutely beautiful. Hello, Bill from California. Hope you're well, and you're welcome here, joining me here in the Yorkshire Dales. We are in Wensleydale, and let's walk on. Mallards flying across here. So again, what you'll see as we kind of go along is we've got the River Ure, which snakes its way around this kind of landscape. And we're going to sort of follow it as we do. You'll see sort of various kind of drainage settings as we walk on. And onwards into the village. So we're in Wensleydale, and that is one of the Dales. There are quite a few Dales, obviously, in Yorkshire. Mick is on, I think, Mick's in Swaledale. And what's unusual, actually, about Wensleydale is most of the Dales are named after the dominant river that runs through them. Whereas this one is named after the village of Wensley, which used to be the market town but which has sort of subsequently kind of been overtaken by Hawes, obviously, as the kind of principal sort of economic centre. Many potholes. I don't know. So consequently, it takes it in from Wensleydale rather than from the river. So it's not Ewerdale. But the name of the river here is the River Ewer. And the earliest sources actually call it Europe, and then Ure, and then Jur. So Jervo Abbey, which is very, very near here, from a Cistercian abbey, a monastery, was located very, very near here, the Jervo. It's the River Jur, and it seems to have become the River Ure by about the kind of Tudor times. And it actually runs on to become part of the River Ouse. So the River Ouse, when we are in York, obviously, is the river that kind of runs through and then transports all the water to the North Sea, out the Humber Estuary. So I've spoken lots of times in York about our flooding because we get all this water coming down. Well, this is water here that at some point in the future will be running through York, because this is a straight continuation. The Ewer runs into the Ouse, so this will then work its way down to York and eventually out to sea in the Humber Estuary. So it's the kind of same water that we've got. This road flows, well, I mean, obviously a lot of them do, Mick, and as you all know, and folks who haven't been here might not be aware, when you're sort of driving around here, often you'll see a kind of meter marker by the road that is kind of showing you, look at this. Isn't this just perfect? So you'll see like what looks like a sort of tape measure, a vertical tape measure by the road, and basically what it's showing you is the depth of the puddle. So that if you've got a vehicle that isn't, not a Land Rover, not a 4x4, that isn't really able to kind of cope with, that kind of, sort of depth of water, then consequently, it's a kind of warning system. So you can see here now how the River Eure is, Mark's been stuck here, how it really kind of turns and it bends. And of course, it's erosion, isn't it, that sort of creates this, where there's kind of soft stone that erodes away, and then you get the hard limestone that kind of stays behind. And the water, of course, very, very soft around here, running across this kind of limestone. So again, come in and bring you. So we've got a lot of Swaledale. I'm pretty sure these are Swaledale, Mick, right? Yeah? Swaledale sheep. The constant black face, white nose, and very hardy, very much kind of, built for this kind of landscape. They use them a lot now for insulation and so forth, because the wool isn't worth tremendous amounts, but they're using quite a lot of industrial things where increasingly we're looking for kind of natural insulation. So, of course, they have the very distinctive curly horns, a lovely specimen just over here. See the curled horns there? And don't you take a postcard? Yes, I'm sorry. They're a shy and retiring lot, but we'll leave them to their tea. So rather rude of us, wasn't it, to coming in when it's your tea time and pushing our way in. Yeah, I would guess so, Richard. That's a good question. Richard saying how high do the sheep, the walls need to be. So again here, you see the width of the wall by comparison. Much, much wider than it was. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good call, Richard. Probably determined by, as long as it's high enough to keep the sheep in. And so this is a major area of sheep farming, particularly this top corner of North Yorkshire, obviously going into the Lake District, the Yorkshire Dales. And largely this was kind of driven by its topography. It's not great for arable farming. You don't want to grow barley up hillsides. And often it's kind of on escarpments. The stone is very kind of close to the surface. So consequently, it's not really ideal for arable farming. But of course, sheep don't mind. And as long as the grass grows, the sheep are kind of happy. So, with access to, if you like, the resources for sheep farming, that became, if you like, the dominant economic activity of this part of the world. Why was the cause of the sheep's wool? Generally speaking, Barbara, that'll be because either been vaccinated, or they've been clipped, or it's what farmers use so they can see at a glance whatever's been done to them. So whatever been done, some kind of vaccination, some kind of tagging, so that the farming hands can see immediately whose job it is. Already for market could well be, but if that's what he's marking that so that immediately they or other farmers can see and identify which, because you don't give all names. So this is the cricket club where the famous Percy Jeeves did his thing. So nice to see the old roller over there. Deworming vaccines, yeah, I'm not an expert, but basically I've lived all my life around kind of farming communities, and every animal that you see marked up, it means it's either waiting for something to happen or something has happened. But could be, yeah, I appreciate that. So anybody who's got expertise on that, then I defer to your superior knowledge. Just colour the water spot our county. Oh, you may do. Yeah, in kind of county sports, but I don't think that's what's going on here. So as I say, we've got the River Ure. Look at that beautiful reflection there. That works nice, huh? I like that. We're definitely coming into, obviously, to lambing time of year. So there'll be lots of late nights for the sheep farmers. Animals have a habit of giving birth, don't they, in the middle of the night. And of course, whenever there's problems, it's likely to be some very, very late nights. But that's what they do. That's what the sheep farmers of the Yorkshire Dales get up to. That is their kind of life, isn't it? So we're walking across a pack bridge. So it's been widened over time. But of course, the pack bridges were initially only needed to be wide enough to carry pack horses, because that's who carried the bulk with saddlebags either side. All the routes from dale to dale, from village to village, on the way to market. And we're actually walking down on the old Lancaster to Richmond Turnpike Road. Can you please show the hills to the right? Just bear with me one moment. Just wait for this car to go past. I'll try and give you a bit of a 360. And then you can see what is behind us. Just look good, doesn't it? The light's starting to go down, so I don't want to dwell too long. We'll be in the village in sort of a couple of minutes, but I just thought it was such a good opportunity for us to spend this sort of 10, 15 minutes sort of walking into the village, just to get to Buttertub's Pass, just to give us that kind of sense. So as I say, we are in Wensleydale, and kind of Wensleydale to me, it's like a sort of dagger in terms of it's kind of line. It's like a dagger through the heart of the Yorkshire Dales, if you can look at the shape of it. And it's very popular. And obviously there's a lot of very popular areas around here, but I think it's partly its terrain. You've sort of got the best of sort of Swaledale to the north and Wharfdale to be the south of here, I guess, make it right, Wharfdale, I would think. So it's got a kind of, in the really kind of popular areas, a combination of both of those. You've got quite a lot of wildness in the north, but the kind of towns and villages, you're very, very cute, very pretty, lots of kind of tea shops, walkers' places. That's kind of more in common with the south. So I think it offers a bit of something for everybody. And obviously agriculture and tourism will kind of dominate, but you've not got mining. So like when we've been up to Grassington, and we're talking obviously about mining up there, that's not the case here. There are older kind of remains in the landscape. So we've got calves now, you see, over here. So we are really kind of seeing the nature on this tour. So the kind of landscape that we see here, Bolton Castle, not too far away from here, an absolutely stunning castle. Used to imprison Mary, Queen of Scots, I think 1567. She was up here. There are some fabulous. Middleham Castle, where Richard III grew up, not too far away from here. So some really kind of stunning places. Oh, and of course, it's not just the wool and the sheep and the cheese. Brewing. Massam, famous for Theakston Brewery. Have you heard of Massam and Theakston Brewery and the Black Sheep, which was one of the family, Paul Theakston, broke away, so he became the black sheep of the family by setting up his own brewery. Being in the same village, so I think a good-natured rivalry. So in the wonderful town of Massam, village. Mick, help me out here. Is Massam a town or a village? I'm not quite sure which it is, but I'm just waiting for a car to go past, 2 cars to go past. And lots of historic. Bolton Castle is so well preserved. They've done an awful lot of kind of filming up there. So chances are, I think Prince of Thieves, Robin Hood, did some up there. Far as I know, thank you, Mick. It's always good to have a local on. So massive, great place, the White Bear, the famous pub up there. So round here, fantastic places, So come up here, stay at the Stonehouse Hotel, spend a week walking, go somewhere different every day, and you will just enjoy yourself. I wonder, this is who Percy Jeeves looked like. So Percy Jeeves was very much identical to that, but he's a long way off his patch, so I don't think that's Percy Jeeves. I think he's a wild boy. But Percy Jeeves domesticated, pheasant, absolutely. So that's who we were looking for up at the Stonehouse Hotel. Massive in market. Okay, thank you, Mick for that running correction. So coming round now into the village, you can see caravan parks. If anybody wants, you like your kind of Winnebagos, your motorhomes, it's a place where you can park up and sort of stay here. But what I would say, Malham's a different place. Malham Cove, I'm talking about Massam. Malham's is sort of slightly different, isn't it? Different location, rather. So what I would say is it's not for the faint-hearted driving a big Winnebago on these very, very narrow roads. So I would only attempt that if you are a very, very confident driver of a big vehicle. So we're on our way around the village. So we're on, obviously, Wensleydale is the upper valley of the River Ure. We're on the east side of the Pennines in North Yorkshire. I said it now already. It's one of the only ones not to be named after its major river. And it comes from Wensley, which was once the original market town. Sylvia, how far is Kilburn from where I was yesterday? Oh, it's a good hour away by driving. Maybe as the crow flies, maybe 25 miles. Look at that for a window to light your staircase. Isn't that fabulous? Let light flood all the way from your staircase from the top to the bottom. Isn't that fantastic? It may be historically a mill building, in which case it's likely that no light was on them at all, because often in the mill buildings and the maltings, what they didn't want was the seed to germinate at all. So consequently, they kept the light out a lot of times. So as I say, we've got cheese here, we've got brewing here, obviously lots of sheep and wool. So kind of loads kind of going on. And Wensleydale itself, it stretches about 25 miles from west to east. We've got Waterfall to the south, and Swaledale to the north, and as Mick was mentioning, Bustubs Pass is the kind of link. Population, I think, I did look this up, it's about 1,200, 1,100, something like that. Somewhere that was not huge, but that's based on the latest census, or the last census rather, information out. So that's 2011. So it may have changed a little bit, but stop and give me down. By the has been okay. I'm just wanting to keep us going because there's lots more to see in the light, and I just don't want to make. I want to make sure we've still got nice light by the end of the tour, because we're going to be down by Gale, by the Beck, which is beautiful, and I want us to get there while there's still decent light. Who built the lovely stone fences along the wood? We don't know individually, Jane, but it's an old, very old, centuries-old craft here in the Yorkshire Dales of what's called dry stone walling. So characteristically, using the local stone, and they're fixed together without the use of mortar, which is why they're called dry stone walls. And so we're on a place called Burnt Acres Road. Coming, let's just see the village sign. So haven't I done well? I've taken as the first mile or so we've walked on this tour. So coming into the village. So I hope you'll agree that it was a good way to start that tour. So what I really wanted to do, Marianne, I don't know. Mick, does anybody know about dog breeds from this area? Is there a Swaledale Terrier? I think there might be a Swaledale Terrier, but I'm not entirely sure. So Hawes is kind of undoubtedly the queen of Wensleydale. It's the largest settlement, and I think about 1,200, 1,100 population, somewhere in that kind of region. And what you've got is basically you've got roads converging here. From the north, you've got Ribblehead to the south. Ribblehead, beautiful, a wonderful kind of place to visit, particularly at the moment for the dark skies. You've got the main valley road, kind of heads off to the wilder, remote moors. You've got Garsdale rather, and Sebra, beautiful Sebra, wonderful kind of public school up at Sebra. Rugby school, lots of former rugby players go to Sebra. Swaledale Terrier, I thought Airedale, 2 Yorkshires. Yeah, so mix. I don't know what to do without you today, Mick. You're actually a fountain of knowledge. Thank you so much for bringing that enthusiasm and knowledge. And obviously we've got these kind of mountains that surround us, which kind of gives us an impressive sort of backdrop. Again, just kind of sense of arrival. And obviously if you want to go full day walking up there, for those of you that are eager, Robin was talking about my stamina and fitness, it's not too bad. But you need a fair amount to go up on the top. It's not quite fell walking that you'd have in the lakes, but nonetheless it's kind of fairly sort of challenging. But where we are now is arriving into Hawes. Is where I was going to start the tour, and then I thought, no, I'll go out further. Because this is one of my favourite sites. Just coming in. No plot spoilers, Mark. The water wheel on the mill. So have a look at that. and you just click your postcard buttons. How pretty is that? So we're in Hawes, and we are at the old railway station. And it's now home to the Dales Country Museum, the bits of on the back, the annex of it. And the station was opened in October of 1878 by the Midland Railway as the terminus of their 6-mile branch from Hawes Junction. And it also connected up with the North Eastern Railway line coming from Northallerton via Bedale, which is where I came today, actually, which had opened up as far as Leyburn back in 1856. So pretty, isn't it? So I'll just move that there so you can get an illustrative view. So it comes to Hawes in the summer of 1878. Yes, I think the Polar Express does come on the Wensleydale Railway, but it doesn't come as far as this because this is just a little sample set. There isn't really a main railway here. So it's sort of tempting to imagine that before the railway arrived, this would have been incredibly kind of cut off. I'm just talking about the railway in a minute, Janice, please. It seemed very kind of remote, but actually, as I say, it was on a main turnpike road. So actually, you already had large numbers of people and goods passing through Hawes and for sale at the market here. So consequently, obviously, the railway kind of boosted that and pushed it up even further. But it was already a busy terminus, and they basically moved the turnpike road. So formerly Ascrig had been the focal point for kind of commercial centre. It moved down here to this town, or what became a town. At that time was kind of a village. So the railway kind of drove that along. Now, the railway section actually lost its passenger service in April of 1954. There was a kind of nominal service continued until 1959, but that's when the train kind of closed down. Now, there's been a lot of enthusiasm. I'll just come over this other side so you can just see what's on the other side of the bridge. A lot of interest in bringing this back. I can't see where a water wheel was. So it is planned that at some stage they are planning to reconnect this to the Wensleydale Railway. But actually, at the moment, it is completely... This is just really a little bit of... Sometimes like somebody's laid down some Hornby train tracks. Thank you, Doreen. And sort of put it there. The train itself was built in the 1950s. It actually came from the wheel on the train. Ah, that's right. Right, okay. I see what it is now. I get you. So there you go. Yeah, it's a different aspect. Got you. There we go. So the train was built, I think, in the 1950s. It's painted the old British Rail red and black, and it starts off down in Sheringham in Norfolk. Sutton Coldfields first, then it's on the Sheringham Railway. It's been up here kind of many a year. It was hiding, wasn't it? Thank you very much, Robert Stevenson and Hawthorne Loco. There we go. So Cheryl, you're fast on the finger there. But isn't it just lovely? And what I do know is that the number of the locomotive is the number of the last passenger train service that left here and finished running in April 1959. So this train is a reminder of what once was in terms of connectivity, and is a kind of plaintive appeal, I suppose, to bring it back, to reconnect it. But what a beautiful spot. I hope you're really enjoying this tour. I think it is just, highlight after highlight in terms of sort of postcards. So do get clicking, and let's see if we can't get a record number of postcards on this tour today. So the bit behind it, we can sort of see the extension, is the Dales Country Museum. And that basically captures 1,000 years, we'll sort of come down pretty in a minute, 1,000 years of history in this part of the world, the various kind of countryside crafts, activities. It is... you could, Sandy, spend ages here, and this is what's nice about it. This is why people come and sort of spend, a good few days here to really kind of just soak up all day walking, and then come home, have a hearty meal, a few drinks, fantastic night's sleep, up again and start in the morning. Some walk, some cycle, but it's just about outdoor adventure and just kind of being at one with it. So yeah, the Dales Country Museum, fantastic award-winning museum. Well worth a visit if you're in this part of the world. I think get ticket there, get discounts elsewhere, so it kind of is well worth going on to. And I heartily kind of recommend that. So somebody was asking before about the rope making, and we're about to pass the rope walk on our left-hand side in just a moment. It's just over here somewhere. I'll find it in a moment. And A rope walk basically is a long building that was built to make rope. So consequently, obviously, you needed a good deal of length to make sense, right? And I think it's just around this corner here, if I remember rightly. So consequently, the rope walks, there's a fantastic one at Barton on Humber. At some point, I suspect it takes to Barton on Humber because it's just under the shadow of the Humber Bridge in northeast Lincolnshire. It's an absolutely wonderful place. But it's got a huge rope walk that goes around all four, like the Royal Naval Yards at Chatham. Really big. So this is the rope makers here, the rope walk. And a company called Elthwaite's were based here for many, many years. So lazy been to the rope walk in Chatham, in the Royal Naval Dockyards. And obviously they were greatly used in maritime, on ships, in factories, you name it. These were, ropes were incredibly, kind of useful things. In past centuries, rope making was a really important trade. So this is Elthwaite's rope making factory. And until very recently, you could come in here and visit. But sadly, Mrs. Elthwaite, I believe, also the owner, recently retired. She was well into her mid-80s. Her husband had died. And the two employees that were kind of skilled took their workshops elsewhere. So it's no longer in the village, which is kind of a great shame. Because as you can see down here, in 2005, they celebrated a century of kind of rope making. So this rope shed is 82 feet in length. So not sort of dissimilar, I suppose, to the train we had a look at a few minutes ago. But sadly, it's no longer operational. So whoever asked about Elthwaite's, do you come in and get your dog lead? You could walk in and watch them make and twist the kind of yarns together to make super strong, very attractive kind of dog leads. So sadly, it is no more. But right now, you can still see where it was. And again, we can just see a little culvert here of Gale Beck running right the way through the village, the town, sorry, kind of rising up. So Hawes, as I say, is very much the kind of the centre of the village. The light's starting to go down now, so I want to get a little wiggle on so we can get down in decent light. It is sad. What is a psych? Is that something you misheard me saying? Or is that something you saw? I don't know, is the answer. Rather nice sort of sculpture. A psych? I don't know. Is that something that was on the rope factory? On the map? A psych? Don't know, sorry. I'm looking around, but I can't see. The watercourse. Oh, I see, yeah. It's a nice sort of sculpture here of the shepherd, his working dog, the sheep. Blackburn Psych. Oh, okay. Maybe Creek, absolutely. Hawes rope maker. Yeah, as I say, it was until recently. So that's where the Stonehouse Hotel we started. A mile away, I've got wooden sheep. So let's just cross over in front of here. We'll head into the village, go look at the beck, the church, and then we'll walk our way down towards Gale, the little hamlet that attaches Hawes in the Salt Lake Half. So it's very much now kind of destination for walks of people. Obviously, when people are staying here. So lots and lots of shops. The signal, by the way, does drop a little bit in this area. Actually, yeah, the two people that were working there that were skilled moved elsewhere. So it didn't stop, it relocated. So obviously that's sort of disappointing for this setting, but at least that craft kind of continued. It is a setback in time, and obviously, again, in these kind of Yorkshire Dales, also we get kind of very pleasing aesthetic, don't we, where everything is kind of built of the same building materials. So we get this kind of wonderful kind of continuity visually. Lovely, the old Feather and Fern, the old grammar school. Look, so just give me a little thumbs up. Who's actually been in person to Hawes? Who knows? So I'm noticing one or two of you sort of pointing out things. So, quite a few of you, which I suppose is kind of in line with the fact this is one of those popular visitor centres, along with Grassington, I'd say. It kind of pretty much vies for the kind of top-ranking place in terms of visitor numbers and popularity in the entirety of the Yorkshire Dales. So I'm not surprised that so many of you visited here in person. So for those that do, you will know that we're about to see one of the classic sights of the Yorkshire Dales. Let me just get a little sip of water. Go on then. Those that know what we're about to see. Just having my sip of water. Somebody tell them what we're about to have a look at. She looked good, didn't she? Yeah, I thought so too. That's it. We're about to go over the bridge, over the river. So the Ure, Gale Beck as it becomes, comes down here into the village. And look at that. Old mill building. Isn't that... Let me just be quiet for a minute. Just listen to it. Can you imagine living there? I'm jealous, I must say. Imagine having your breakfast. You just sat there with your windows open and listen to that every morning. Wouldn't that be something? It's for sale, mate. Should we all club together and buy it? And we'll timeshare it. We'd all spend a few days here each year. Isn't that? Marlene, she's in for it. Adding it to her property portfolio. I'm just going to stand here for a minute because I just love the sound. And I guess I'm not alone. I'm guessing there's lots of you. I'm just going to really hold on here so I can go a little bit lower. It's just so wonderful. Yeah, private home, yeah, but although there'll be some holiday lets around here. So relaxing, isn't it? They're so noisy. Yeah, there's a mill building right in front of us there. So, of course, you're taking advantage of, all this movement activity on the water. But come over this side, it's remarkable, actually, how quickly that kind of energy dissipates. If we look on this side, you wouldn't believe that we're only kind of a few feet away, really. It is incredibly calm. But again, just look at this beautiful millstone buildings on this side. We really are in an absolutely exquisitely beautiful spot. Rats in the river. Well, they say, don't they, you're never more than 6 feet away from a rat. Grassington were quite away. Mick, help me out. Grassington 20, 25 miles, I would think. We're sort of completely on the other side, really, from Grassington. Yeah, that's what the cats are for. But what a spot, ladies and gentlemen. What an unbelievably beautiful place to be. The folk that get to spend time here on holiday or live here, they know why they're drawn back time and time again. The stunning natural beauty. And as I so often talk about, this combination, when you get man-built with natural world working in such harmony that you just kind of gasp and you can't believe that we're capable of creating places of such bucolic beauty, and yet we make the world so crappy all at the same time. What is the matter with humanity that we can do this, but we get so much wrong? So how cute is that? You should knock on the door. 1,200. Yeah, well, obviously it's sort of spaced out a little bit, but I think that includes Gale as well. Yeah, I don't think you would want to know the price. So if you can drop in on Hawes Club. So there's quite a lot of antique shops around here. It's quite antique-y. I think the signal drops a bit down here. So I think I'm just going to try and see if I can get us around this way. We might have a sort of slightly better signal. But I know, Richard, I completely agree. What a piece of work we are indeed. So beautiful. And again, it's a bit like Grafton. Just be aware that what we see now as chocolate box cute were actually once the homes of very, very poor, deprived rural workers, living with great hardships and on very, very kind of poor wages. It's only because, in many respects, that they had to provide accommodation for the workers. These houses were built, and it was a reaction to the movement, actually, after the Black Death. There was a big shortage of population, so they started building stone workers' cottages across northern England and the Dales to basically lock in. And they didn't have secure employment either. The people would go to annual hiring fairs. I don't know if they have any annual hiring fairs still making this part of the world, but they used to hire people for 51 weeks a year. And then even booted out your accommodation, you'd have to go to another hiring fair, and then you'd be tied. You couldn't go and leave during that year. In effect, you became then tied to the land, to the estate. And so it was a sort of life of continued insecurity, that's the word that I'm going to use. So I'm thinking this road is going to continue me back towards the church. Hopefully it will. So that's where we're heading to next. I bet the Pennine Way. So, as I say, we mustn't mistake what is now seen as aesthetically very beautiful with actually what was once very, very Spartan living indeed. People living, of course, without heating and, but without even basic comforts. Very little by way of kind of furniture. But of course, let's not lie. Some of these buildings are, of course, cut above those, and they are absolutely stunning. Just again, the aesthetics of some of these cottages makes your heart sing. Quite a lot for sale around here. So if you are interested, you go on a estate agent site and you will be able to see what's what and how much things got to go for. So I think we have to sort of slightly fall back on ourselves. So I want to go and see the church next, because that's the road down to Gale. So I think we'll just come slightly past where I thought we were going to be. So this is always the fun of kind of there's the church. Is I kind of know most of these places fairly well, but not incredibly well. I don't live here. So when you're kind of working out routes, then you see a poor signal patch. You have to go and sort of find somewhere else. Yeah, beauty in the midst of poverty, great way of putting it. So this is the church we'll walk up to now. It's called St Margaret of Antioch. And I know absolutely nothing about St Margaret, if anybody does. Antioch was a crusader port, so it's very likely that her canonization is something to do with the older with the Crusades, because Antioch was very much a place where Crusaders came and built. So, but this is Victorian. Funny enough, we often talk about the Domesday Book on this tour, and this settlement isn't in the Domesday Book. It doesn't really become much more than a hamlet until the 17th century. Okay, when it gets its kind of market sort of status. So initially, from the 15th century onwards, there is what they call a Chapel of Ease here. A Chapel of Ease, what that is I'll show you some of the graves. You guys like the graveyards. A Chapel of Ease was basically where you'd have a place of worship that wasn't big enough to warrant a parish church, but nonetheless you want a place to pray. It's often when the parish would cover, very, very large areas, often kind of scattered rural communities. So a Chapel of Ease was basically a place where you could go and pray, so locally, but the parish church was elsewhere. So that's what was here. Isn't that beautiful, that grey stone? With the, I know it makes you about the burglaries. I just saw the sign actually. I'll show you in a moment, but it's awful. But isn't this a glorious spot? So this church is Victorian. It dates from the 1850s. So very much Victorian. The bell in it is older. It's one of the very, very few bells that date from the Oliver Cromwell period, which is kind of rare because they didn't really believe in church bells. They thought they were kind of a bit frivolous, but also they kind of stank of Catholicism. So not many bells cast in that period. So the big bells up here in the 1650s so it's very much kind of Victorian Gothic in design. There is actually a sign here that Mick was just talking about there. How you can see there. There's been a break-in, and so they are dealing with the aftermath of that. It's very depressing, but it's a beautiful place. Look at the railings, aren't they sweet? You like that, Joanne? Oh, Joanne's on. Many of you are sort of frequent visitors to places of worship. So cute. You often see railings with the crossing. So you can just see here, if I kind of spin us round, the lights start to kind of go down. So we're going to get a little wiggle on. But isn't it wonderful as the lights are coming up, the lights going down? What a spot this is. Like a film set. Yeah, beautiful. So let's walk on. We're going to walk on to... and again, the signal might be a little bit patchy at times for the next sort of 5 minutes, but bear with me, because I know when we get to the village, the hamlet, it'll be absolutely perfect. I think it's okay, but we might get the dead spot. I mean, to be honest, I find it hard to believe how brilliant it is. But isn't this God's country? Absolutely. So what a place to be buried. You're kind of looking out for eternity across Wensleydale. Can't go into the church. No, it's shut at the moment because they're breaking. It might be shut at this time of day anyway. But so if you like this sort of style, it's Victorian Gothic, by the way, you must come to my Haworth tour, which I think is a couple of weeks from now in April, and you'll love it. All about the Brontes, and again, very, very similar So very, very similar kind of location to this in terms of the kind of the backdrops, the wildness, the dry stone walls, and the kind of slightly creepy Victorian sort of Gothic. So we're about to walk on the Pennine Way. And yesterday on the Cleveland Way, today the Pennine Way. And I think, I may be wrong, but I think this is the first time that the Pennine Way is featured on Hago. Pennine Way, by the way, for those that don't know, is one of the longest paths, if not the longest. I should research that, shouldn't I? Cutting across England. I think it's about 250 miles or so in length. A lot of it's very challenging. In its entirety, it's like the climbs are more than kind of Mount Everest. So again, it is not for the faint-hearted. Obviously, this section here is dead easy. And again, we've got the river snaking its way. So just to give you a little setting here. Beverly's husband did the coast to coast. So definitely we'll walk probably section of the Pennine Way and the Cleveland Way where we were yesterday. Well, we're going to be walking past it. How much light there is. The creamery is just at the end of this sort of section here. We are very near the Wensleydale Creamery. And just give me a thumbs up if you've... Well, let's do two. Let's do thumbs and hearts, right? So give me a thumbs up if you've heard of Wensleydale cheese. Okay, I'll take that a second. Now then, get ready with your hearts. Give me a heart if you've tried Wensleydale cheese. Let's just see how kind of widespread. Yeah, a lot of you. Okay. So obviously this is from here. And it all starts with, these stories that I tell on these tours, the overlap, the overlink. It's monks. It's Cistercian. They're French monks that came across and founded these Cistercian monasteries. So Sauvignon monks, they bring with them cheese-making recipes. And the earliest references we have is of cheese-making at Jervaux around here, about 1145. That's how far we're kind of going back. So the monasteries were expert. They came across with French soft cheese using sheep's milk. And so this cheese has been made in this area for getting on for 1,000 years. That's the kind of sort of period of time that we're talking about. And then, of course, Henry VIII goes and shuts down the monasteries in 1536, doesn't he? So Jervaux goes, the monks are dispersed. And it seems that a select group of farmers' wives that obviously worked with the monastery were given the recipe. They were provided with the secrets and access to the cultures. So it continued on in this area. And it became obviously synonymous with Wensleydale. So let me just get through these pair of gates. Obviously, you always have two sets of gates. So again, it's about controlling, obviously, livestock, just making sure they don't kind of go away. So you go in one area, make sure that gate's closed before you open the other. And it's just kind of good highway code and basic kind of respect. So off-roading, really. I mean, that's in some places that's kind of quite controversial. Others kind of welcome it. So the creamery over here, so the original factory here opened in 1897. And it became a huge employer in this area. Incredibly successful. And it became then under the ownership of the Milk Marketing Board. So I don't know if there's like a nationalisation, wartime rationing thing. I'm not quite sure what the driver for that was, but it came under kind of quasi sort of public ownership, I believe in the 1920s. And then, it sort of continued operating here, employing kind of lots of people, and taking advantage, obviously, of the kind of the access to lots and lots of kind of milk and kind of good products. So it kind of did well, but ultimately, so using sheep's milk, they do for some, but not all, I believe. And some, again, will be kind of natural artisan, unpasteurized cheeses. Some will be kind of creative kind of export, so causes to go through the pasteurization sort of process. But kind of tragedy hit in the 1990s, because around about 1990, they stopped making it here. And there's about 60 or 70 jobs, I believe, went. And it was not just, I think, a closure of a factory. There was a kind of sense of a loss of identity. It really hurt the people of this area who were so proud of their kind of cheese making that it really stung. But then, believe it or not, I think foot and mouth really harmed this part of the world, without a doubt. Salvation came in an incredibly unlikely corner. The shape of a chap called Nick Park. Who knows what I'm about to talk about? A chap called Nick Park was an animation student who, whilst he was at college, started the idea of a man. Initially, Gromit was a cat, believe it or not. And, and the idea was he had this old inventor who loved cheese, in particular, cracking Wensleydale. That was his favourite. And it took 6 years to come to the screen. It wasn't until Christmas Eve of 1992 that the Grand Day Out film was put on Channel 4. So I'm just going to get something out of my bag. And it became a huge hit. And people became very, very fond of Wallace and Gromit. It became sort of national heroes sort of overnight. And of course, what they then wanted to do was to try Wensleydale cheese. So the very unlikely, right at the moment that in effect it had been sort of killed in this part of the world, Wallace and Gromit brought it back. So I've brought my little Wallace and Gromit friends, because there is now Wallace and Gromit cheese available, made here. It's one of their big sellers. So Wallace and Gromit are real kind of heroes. In 1992, there was a management buyout, and they brought cheese making back here. And they've been making it ever since. It's multi-award winning. They're cracking cheese Gromit. Cracking cheese Gromit. And, it's a success story. It's gone from strength to strength. They bought up other cheesemakers in the area. So isn't that fabulous? An unlikely rescuer was a couple of animated claymation. And of course, it was Peter Sallis. For those of us that were with me in Home Firth, we went to see his grave, didn't we? So he voiced it and thought nothing about it. It was 6 years after he did the voice when it appeared on TV. So he had this sudden, injection of stardom very, very late in life, Peter Sallis, as being the voice of Wallace. So there we go. Wallace and Gromit at the Wensleydale Creamery. Let us move on. So I'm just going to pop them back in my bag, and then we're going to pop on. So I'll just put this on tripod for a second so I'll get to my hands back. So excuse me, not much to look at for a moment, but you'll understand, I'm sure, why I just need to get my hands back. So the light is just coming down lovely. I think we've just got enough light for the last kind of 5 minutes of this tour. So hopefully you've all enjoyed it and felt you've had a really nice view. So we're coming into the hamlet now of Gale. And Gale is really kind of part of Hawes. In essence, it's obviously where the creamery is, the factory is. It's kind of one of the kind of same, really. But thank you, Pam. And so we're just going to go up and finish up. And hopefully we've got enough light just to be able to get a picture of another beautiful sort of site. And this has been, I think, a real kind of great postcardy tour, hasn't it? Hopefully you've really had your fill of North Yorkshire, of the Yorkshire Dales, of Wensleydale. I've really got a feel for what it'd be like to be here, to go walking here, to come and stay here. And they'd love to have you. Make no bones about it. For those of you that are still mobile, for those of you that are thinking of trips to the UK, do come, because you'll not beat the welcome you'll get around here. The food is fantastic. The beer is great. You'll get looked after. And the landscape, it'll blow you away every day. And you'll sleep like you've never slept before. After a day of walking, day of hiking in the Dales, in the lakes, you will sleep like a baby. I promise you that. So you can go and watch and make cheese. And there's plenty to do here. The Dales Museum. They say until recently you could go watch rope. You can't do that anymore. But so much to do in this part of the country. And so, of course, I'm a huge advocate for York. I want you all to come to York. But don't just come to York. Come here as well. Because there is so much to see, so much to do. It's about an hour and a quarter, I would say, drive from York. But there's bus service, there's public transport that can get you out here. And what a great way to come by bus and see these fantastic sights, keep your green footprint down. It really is an excellent opportunity. So just getting coming up to the Beck now, the light is going down, so consequently it's getting slightly harder for me to read the chat. So I do apologise about that, and that's because my eyes aren't what they were. And so I struggle a bit when it gets dark because what you get is like a high contrast glare. I've got like the darkness in front of me, I'm looking where I'm going, and the white blocks of text. What would be really handy, if Hegel could do it, is as the light goes down, if they went from white backgrounds and black text to black and white and reversed it, that would be absolutely kind of perfect. Hawes and my visit to fantastic Sally. I'm so pleased you're going to check out Hawes. I'm sure you probably were already, but hopefully this has reinforced the desire to come down here. So we're very nearly at the point, it looks like it's sufficiently well lit for us just to finish up over the water one more time, looking at Gale Beck, which has flown, as we've seen, all the way through this fantastic village, this fantastic town. I do beg your pardon, I keep calling it a village. It's a town. This bit's a hamlet, really. And parking in Hawes Centre, well, the main car park is by the Dales Countryside Museum. There's parking there all day long. It's not too bad. As ever, of course, if you come in the height of summer, you may well find that there's competition for spaces. But, if you come a decent time, you should be all right. If you're staying here, there'll be accommodation. You usually have a car parking space. So that's what I'd recommend. I loved it. I hope we can still so thank you, Kathy and Patty. Everyone's left tips there. It's fantastic. I really appreciate that. Really helps with the cost of petrol and keeping doing this stuff. But for anybody that's not able to this time, don't worry. Have this one on me. It's been lovely having you all here with me to help celebrate 2 years on Hey Go. So you see pointing towards Kettlewell. So we've got Hawes in this direction. We've got the famous Kettlewell. Again, the light, as you can see, is really starting to come down now, but I think it's perfect for framing what I want to show you. It's looking at Gale Beck and the old mill. Kettlewell. I know, thank you. 2 years. It's amazing. Or it's just the beginning of year 3 today. So let me just take you down here. We'll have a look. Kettlewell's lovely. Mark, you know it. I mean, we're just spoilt with the places that are on offer in the Yorkshire Dales. Thank you, John and Karen. I'm glad that you've enjoyed being here in the Yorkshire Dales. We're going to come again, whether it be here or somewhere else. Got the bug now bringing you to the Dales. So let's just show you the water on the Weir side. Scarecrows, absolutely how visual. That'd be fun. Wouldn't it come for the Scarecrow Festival? But isn't it? So you can see the breakwater. So again, being used to create turbulence in the water. Thank you, Mick. And thank you, because I really appreciate that, because obviously Mick is a local, and it's very easy to come across as an ill-informed sort of tourist. So let me come up to the top of the bridge. So that means a lot, Mick. I appreciate that. I do, mate. Thank you. And everybody's comments and questions. You made it a really nice vibe today. I've really, really enjoyed kind of chatting. I always do enjoy, but today's a particular kind of highlight. It's a library, yeah, absolutely. So again, we've got sets of falls, just enough light, I think, to enjoy that. And again, let's... last 5 minutes froze. Oh. Is it frozen for everybody, just for... Good there. Okay, fantastic. So again, let's just listen to the music. Just look at how beautiful this spot is. So I'm sorry it froze for some of you. Delighted it didn't freeze for all of you. We're just by the old mill. I'll just try and give you a sense. Unfortunately, the mill is shut at the minute, so you're not going to see. But the mill is kind of the bottom on there. So you sort of see it in silhouette. And the mill, actually, originally, of course, a water mill, it became a wood mill. And they used the hydroelectric power to drive the bandsaws and a variety of tools. Also belts kind of ran around the mill and kind of drove it. And then they made it electricity generator. Used to generate electricity for the village. So this water power, this the kind of new science, if you like, of kind of renewables. It's not new at all. We've been doing it as old as kind of humanity with water wheels and various other techniques. We just call it different things, but isn't it pretty? Look at Gale Beck running through the heart of Wensleydale here in the North Yorkshire Dales National Park. So pretty. I'm going to move around back there again, just finish up, because I did like that scene with the lights on the windows. And as you can see, the light is going, so I'm going to leave you in a moment. Let's just stick that on tripod for a second, just so I can say my goodbyes properly. Yes, Mark, yeah, I'm going to set back and drive back to via North Alton, actually. pick up my wife from Northampton on the way back, and then we will be back in York. Probably, what time is it now? It's nearly 7. It's probably about 9 o'clock tonight. Yeah, sure. My car's about 100 yards away from here, so any would-be guides on. My tip, and I'm sure Alex would agree if he doesn't use public transport, is always park somewhere near the end of your tour. You really don't want to have to be doing a long, long trek back to your car. So to get the pain out of the way in the early part. Thank you, Hadrian. Lots of postcards. Fantastic. Listen, what a spot. What a joy. What a pleasure. Thank you, everybody. Not just for today, but for making 2 years on Hago so fun, so rewarding, but also unexpected. When someone said, do you want to have a go at this? And they told me what it was. I said, well, they won't want me. I'm in my 50s. They'll want kids to do this. And you know what? It turns out that my life's work may well have started at 50. Who knows what's around the corner? So hopefully, for any of you that are thinking of trying something new, maybe a new venture, new hobby, a new activity, just go for it, because, you just never know what's around the corner. You never know opportunities. And, now here I am talking to you guys from different corners of the world. And, so you just never know. So if you see an opportunity, jump onto it, cling onto it, and go for the ride and see what happens. Because the very worst that can happen is you'll find out that you didn't like it too much. But it's always better to have a go in this life. So I took a chance, Alex took a chance, and here we are doing it. Let that hopefully be some kind of inspiration. But as the light is going down, I'm going to give you a little wave and say thank you, everybody, once again, not just for today, the last 2 years, particularly to Mick, who's kept me on the straight and narrow today with the facts and information. I'm delighted to finally be up in your part of the world. We'll come back again, either here or other locations in the wonderful North Yorkshire Dales National Park. So thank you, everybody. And have fun editing your postcards. Do stick them up there. Do some reviews. Thank you, everybody. Been lovely to speak to you. But I'm going to say good night. So thank you from Hawes, Yorkshire Dales National Park, and Wensleydale. And Wallace and Gromit say bye-bye to. Should we give you a tea? What we'll do? Just a little special. Let's see if we can get them to sit down. If I can get them to sit down, you can have a last shot of Wallace and Gromit sitting by the beck. If I can't, we won't. We'll not worry about it. But I think I can probably do that for you. And then we've got another cute postcard opportunity. So there we go. Wallace and Gromit, the guys that saved Wensleydale. Happy trails, guys.